is the Doc and Brent. What's this show called?
NFTs and smart contracts.
There we go. So today we're going to be talking about all of those things. It's going to be fun, and we're going to get right into it. So remember, this is talking about everything in the world and what we're doing. And this week, we're going to be talking about a project that I just finished up and kind of going around what's going on in the space and everything like that. So let's get right into it. So I'm going to share my screen. So first of all, before we get into this, Brent, how was your week?
It was good. It's a lot happening out there. And for everybody who's watching and they want to join our Discord group, Doc, how can they join our Discord group?
There's going to be a link down below in the comment section. Jump in, all those things. You'll see a bot that will just confirm that you're a human being, and then you're going to be good to go.
Yes, cool. Everybody, welcome. I hope you are watching. You share this information. It's still a very new space. Understanding NFTs and smart contracts is a lot of confusion. What they are, how do you build them, what is their purpose, and then of course what we're going to be talking about is how do you profit from it all. How do you profit either if you're a developer, how do you profit if you're an artist or someone who wanted to have things minted or create their own NFTs and smart contracts. So there's going to be different things that you get from different episodes of listening to Doc and Brent and everything NFT and smart contracts. But what does that mean? It means you should stick around, pay attention, ask questions so we can answer your questions. And if I think there's a question that you probably aren't asking, I'll ask it for you.
Good times. I love it. So we're going to get right into this, kind of like you were talking about. Okay, what is this smart contracts, all of these things? How can I start minting all these things? What I would suggest people to do, even if they don't intend to understand or write the code themselves, there is a great free resource. It's buildspace.so. And I'm not getting paid by them. I just really like the team. They're coming out of YC. They're doing really good stuff. And this has helped me to wrap my mind semi around what's going on. Okay. But this has also helped me to find NFT projects, which ones I'm investing in, all of these things. So we're going to go into it. And what we had to actually, that's why, Brent, if you haven't been able to catch me, this is what I was doing. It was it was a 2-week project, but really I was busy and I couldn't do it. So I had to do this in 4 days, but it was generating your own limited edition NFT collection, deploying it with Ethereum smart contracts. And that's what I was able to do. So this is on, let's see, you'll see the site and then we can actually go to OpenSea in a second. So I'm using REPL and it's deploying the website, everything like this. You'll see it in a second. And
what is REPL, Doc?
Yeah, so let's see. Is that you?
That was me. That was me.
Okay, I was like, what in the world? So Replit. So let me bring this up. Okay. So Replit allows you to basically, it allows you to code with people. So it's imagine it like Google Sheets or Google, what is that? Just a Word document where both people can talk at the same time or build or do whatever they want.
Okay.
And this allows you to basically, I can put up a project and I can go from there. So for example, when it's waking up in a second, I'm just going to go into the code real quick and just grab what I want.
Mm-hmm.
This allows me to put up a marketplace. And what is a marketplace? It basically allows someone to connect their MetaMask wallet. It's active there. And they can see my collection that I put on OpenSea. Now, what we talked about before is when you're doing something with OpenSea, there's a test net as well. So you can test out what's going well with your contract before you start using real money. So this project is using a test net of OpenSea. So let me just go here, test net, OpenSea. Okay, and I can actually just go down here real quick. Okay, so this is the testnet. As you can see, it's OpenSea, it's testnet right here. And as you're seeing right here, this was one of my projects that this was the first test. I was taking a SVG file and then I was making it an NFT. And so I was actually writing the smart contract and then sending it to OpenSea. And that's what you're seeing right here. the other thing is, let me see, because there was a couple different ones. Hold on. Test net. Seeing which one, because this is during the project. Okay, is this one? Yeah. So you're seeing right here, let me zoom in. So you're seeing this and you're like, what in the world? Why does it say like Sakura, Beans, Pig, Ryoga, Tabasco, Snake, which I love that name, by the way. And then you have like this one, Kakashi. Well, how is this possible? Well, you're actually in the project, you're writing a code that allows you to randomize what's happening here. And because of this, I'm creating very unique NFTs that are dynamic. So they're changing. And that's what you're seeing right here. And so going through this, and I can look at the code if you want in a second, but that's what this project actually allows you to do. You're going through and making your own contract. You're setting up your own rules, and then you're actually launching it into the test net right here with OpenSea. And that's because you're testing if everything's right before I just send it to the actual OpenSea. So you're using Rinky Buy, which allows you to have fake Ethereum. So you get to have fake money to test to make sure the transaction is correct, all of these things. And this is what you're able to do. So it's really interesting, but it goes from step by step of, let me just show you here. Step by step of minting your first Epic NFT to OpenSea, learning to generate NFTs on chain, setting up a web client to let users mint an NFT, and then finish, finalize, and ship. So that's what I was able to do. And when you finish the project, this is why they're like, claim your NFT. They give your certificates as an NFT.
All right, that's pretty cool.
Yep. So that's what I was working on this weekend. But it's a very fascinating space right here. And yeah. But the reason I like this is, then this is something I was trying to find in the last episode. Compile it, deploy it on our local blockchain, and then running it. Understanding this basic concept will allow you to understand smart contracts and how powerful they are, how it's done. And then the rest is like, we can talk about it, but like, these are the fundamentals for you to write a smart contract, understand how people are writing these smart contracts and what's happening when they put it on chain. So yeah, that's why I really like this.
So when thinking about smart contracts, it's a series of if-then statements, right? And once certain things are met, if these things are met, then this happens. And the triggers happen automatically. That's at a very baseline level.
Yeah.
For people who are like, how does it work? And how is it automated? Just think about that. It is a collection of if-thens. It's deeper than that, but this gives you the ability to digest it, I think. And so with those if-then statements, the parameters then become contractual type parameters, where instead of it just being a simple if-then statement, it says once this is purchased, the rights transfer to this person. Still an if-then statement, but it gets a little more complex. And as you start to write the true smart contracts, the statements become more and more complex to create the smart contract. And so, Doc, one question I have for you is, number one, is there like a baseline smart contract where you can say, all right, this is a baseline smart contract, and I can either build or subtract from this, or are all smart contracts written ground up?
Okay, yeah, that's a really good question. First of all, we got people in chat, especially on Twitch. So thanks so much for being here and watching. So the answer is, where's my sound effect? So the answer is, there is a template, and you're just borrowing that. So very few are starting from the ground up. Even in this course, if you're looking at it, when you're starting out and you're doing everything locally, the contracts are already there that you're copying and pasting, and then they're telling you where they're getting that library from, but you're not doing it from the ground up. I mean, some might, but that's the beauty of having already these libraries intact, and they're already in a way that allows you to not have as many errors if you're doing it. So right here, this is just telling you how to generate it and start hard hat. But when you're getting down here, hard hat just basically allows you to have the files and the structure to be able to run it on your local device. And then you go ahead with that. If you want, I can kind of show you what it looks like. So give me 1 second. 1 second. So I'm going to change from sharing my screen stop sharing. Okay, give me 1 second. I gotta bring up.
While you're pulling it up, for everybody, again, if you're looking to go deeper with this information, or if you're, you know what, I know I need to know more about NFTs. I have stuff that I want to NFT. I have created some imagery. Not everything is designed to be an NFT, and not everything just by default is because it's an NFT. People just come and buy it. And so just understand there's more to minting and creating these digital assets than just having the ability to do so. You really, and this is just for me. If you're thinking about the space, number one, you want to have capacity. Do you have the capacity to grow in it the way you want? Be it a designer, if you're just an investor, or if you're somebody who just wants to become more familiar with the wording, do you have the capacity to do so? And if you do, then what are your resources? How are you going to learn this stuff? You know, are you going to sign up for a course? Are you going to join our Discord group, which you can get the link in the chat? Is it in chat below or in the chat, Doc?
It's going to be in chat below.
It's going to be in the chat below. So if you want to join our Discord group, start the conversation. But just think about, how do you want to learn? How do you want to go deeper? Again, while Doc is pulling up this information to show us.
Cool. So if we look at this real quick, I'm going to share screen window. Okay. So the first thing is, when you're looking at this, and keep in mind, especially when I first started, first of all, I'm not an expert of coding. I'm not very good at it. In fact, I almost failed out of it in high school because I was running my eBay store at the time, and I just had no interest in coding. Keep in mind, a lot of these concepts and what you're doing is you're going to be given a lot of these frameworks. So don't feel like, oh my God, I'll never be able to write these things. I'll never be able to do it. Also, too, when you're using a program like this, you can download a more or less, it's an extension for writing things using Ethereum and things like that, or writing it for Ethereum. And that's going to allow you to see the errors, and you're going to be able to go through the contracts a lot quicker. So just hold tight. Just realize that you do not have to be like an expert at this or just know how to code naturally. Within the last, I've taken 3 courses. This was the one that I finished. So it took me about 6 weeks to get used to it. It's just repetition and getting used to what you're looking at. So just realize, I'm going to talk about the basics. Go to the course if you want to know more, but realize I'm copying and pasting a lot of this, and you're getting this in course. And that's a lot of the times with developers. It's not you having the skill to write it from scratch. It's you. It is you. It's having the ability to know what you're looking at and then be able to change it what's necessary, and then going from there. So if we're looking at this just as a base level, you're going to look at your contracts over here, right? And this is my contract, and basically it's just letting me know what's happening. Now, if you're looking at this just for a second, remember how I was just on OpenSea and you saw a bunch of random 3 words over and over again, right? If I'm looking at this where it says string, first word, second word, third word, it's because it's being able to pull out of these 20 names and then make the combination. So when we're talking about that dynamic SVG, it's going to be pulling from this database, essentially, pulling from this options, and then it's spitting out what I'm asking. So if you're looking at decentralized organizations, right, and you're looking at that there's passwords associated, or there's a dynamic SVG, this is what it is. You're telling the contract, this is what's happening. When I want this to happen, go out and make this happen. And so this is the contract you're looking at over here. If you're looking at the run and then deploy, again, running allows you to run the program where it says, hey, contract deployed to, and it's going to tell me the contract. Call the function right here, wait for it to be mined, and then it's telling me, hey, this is a console log, which just means it's a message that tells me when I run the code, this is what's happening, or it will tell me. So it's very similar to, like, say for instance, say for instance, you're at a bar and you're trying to buy someone a drink, and you're trying to go for this girl, and you're like, I'm not sure if she's interested. The console log is going to tell you if you buy this drink, and she might give you a signal, and you're like, oh no, this is done. The console log is basically telling you, like, get out, it's done. This isn't working, like leave. If you get all the way through, it's not going to give you any logs. It will just do what you're asking. But if it stops in any part of the code, the console log will pull up and it will tell you like, I'm right here. And the reason it's important is without having those signals, you don't know where your errors are when it's trying to run that. So that's giving you indication. So right here, I'm just writing it and it's minting an NFT for fun. Beep, bop, boop. That's what I wrote. So it says to me, beep, bop, boop, if this has gone this far. You can write whatever you want. So it's just a signal. Deploying right here, deploying just means I'm deploying my contract to be on chain, right? So I'm deploying it. I'm telling the contract where to go. I'm going to that network. So if I'm using Alchemy right now, and I'm going to the test network, but it's deploying to the test network to be on chain. So right here, you're telling it what, and there's actually another section where I'm getting my, my information for it to know who I am. But just basic level, after you're running it, it's going to put your contract on chain and it's got to deploy it. And this means that the miners have to start picking up this contract and go and tell the rest of the network. This is very basic, and there are a lot of other technicalities, but this is the overview of what you're doing. So I'm using this as the basis of creating the contract, telling what I want, and all of these things where it says Open Zeppelin contracts, all these things. Right here where it says import, I'm importing the structure of the contract from other people. So where it's saying like import here, I didn't do all this work. I was in the class, they're like, hey, these are already contracts that exist. We're going to use this as a basis. Then the specificity of what you want to add with your contract, just put it in here. Great, done. After that, I deploy it, we're good to go. And then that's what you're seeing in the other screen.
Hey, Doc, when you take code from somebody in the class or even in the cloud, like they have these pre-written sections of code, are you required to pay them anything?
No, open source. Okay. Like, of course, I mean, if you're looking at something, check. But if you're grabbing something open source, that's the whole thing. A lot of these things are all structured to be open source. So yes, of course, check. But if they're already, if they put it up and everything like that and made it public, it's open source. It's free game. It's free game. Now, there might be some that put in the contract and you can look at it. If you're pulling the contract, they might put something else like, so it's them, because if someone wants credit. But for the most part, no, you do not. Great question. So that's pretty much the basics of this. Now, let me see if it worked. And you see right here? So this is my website that I have. It says limited run of 50, only mint on Rinkybuy. And the reason I said that, Rinkybuy is the test network for Ethereum. So you can get this and mint it, but you have to use Rinkybuy instead, because I did not put this on the chain for Ethereum. And then I have my collection on OpenSea, which is my test net. And you can see right here are my 3 NFTs that it made dynamically. If you can see this, I didn't make each one and then put it up for sale. I used a dynamic SVT, and then it added this right here. So if they want, they can go on chain on Rinkybuy. They can mint the NFT, and then they will now be able to mint one of mine. And in the contract, in the code, I said limit run of 50. So that means that, again, it has a limited amount of NFTs. So I can have my limited first editions right here. And again, you're saying that in the contract, right? You're saying in the contract how many you're allowing. So that way, if you're like, what project did I just buy? Yakuza Cats? So Yakuza Cats, they have so only 8930, right? So I think the full project is like 9,000, but you see all of these different versions. So you see where you're connecting your wallet, which I did, and then you're buying. It's sold out right here. But this is a very basic version, but that's what all you're doing. You're asking them to, and you see why it says mint NFT. That's because my wallet's already connected. If my wallet wasn't connected, it would just say connect wallet. Then this dynamically changes.
Hey, Doc, question for you. Can you go back to Yakuza Cats?
Hmm?
All right, what makes something like Yakuza Cats desirable?
So I'm just going to be honest with you. All right. So there's a lot of people that will be very philosophical and all of these things. It's a mixture of FOMO, fear of missing out, and it also depends on the creator and the community. But
Yeah.
because it is so highly volatile in this area right now, the simple answer that I would give is people are guessing. It's speculative. It's highly speculative. I mean, I'll get to it in a second, but I mean, if you look to rarity.tools, this is all of the collections that are dropping. Okay.
Mm.
Some have horrible art, some don't. But if you're looking at these things, there's no common denominator which one's going to be popping off. If you look at the top collections of the volume, CryptoPunks, you look at total volumes, okay, Crypto Toads, Bored Ape, Yacht Club, Cyber, you can look in all of these different types. Some might say, well, there's a common denominator that crypto went here, and then this was 8-bit, and then the Crypto Toads, listen, in between the Crypto Toads popping off, look at all the projects, and the common denominator is what looks at it is the hype behind it and the community and the person that launched it. Other than that, there's not really any common denominator, and everyone else is shooting from the hip to just be on the floor level when these things mint so they can possibly just pop off, go 100x, and they start making just tons of money. That's the reality.
And so when you say when they mint, what does that mean?
So when we're looking at, like, say, for instance, Yakuza Cat, right? So when this mints, or look at this site, minting the NFT is when you're exchanging that you're going to pay for it, and you're the first person to basically, I don't want to say put it on chain, but let me do this better. Let me just Google it.
Mm-hmm.
What does minting an NFT mean? Let's see. Minting an NFT is how your digital art becomes a part of the Ethereum blockchain ledger that is unchangeable and tamper-proof. Yeah. So when you're going there, that's the contract. That's the smart contract. When you're saying, I am willing to pay this, I am going there and get it. There's a whole other level if you're seeing certain NFTs that get revealed of what kind of NFT you get. Because just like Yakuza Cats and there's tons of others, there's a period of time that it just was blank. You didn't get revealed of what your NFT looked like until a certain time frame. So
no,
minting,
they still platforms that do that. It's a lot of platforms.
Say it again.
It's a lot of platforms that just have the question mark in the
Correct.
box, and you really don't even know what you're buying.
Yeah, that's what I got with Yakuza Cats.
Mm.
Yep. Because after you buy it, and they didn't release it until 3 days later. So then some people were speculative and just trying to buy yours before you even knew what it was, because they could cash in. Like one of the Yakuza Cats it minted like 6 days ago at this point, maybe 5 days ago. On Sunday, someone sold one of the Yakuza Cats for 14 ETH.
14?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So, there's what I'm saying. There's tons of other ones. I mean, there's a whole other, I mean, I'm going to do a case study on this too, because it's not even just celebrity. Like, let's back up for a second, right? To get into this space right now, it's even more than just being an investor. I have money. Number one, you got to wrap your head around this, but also too, you have to jump through hoops of, do they have a Coinbase account? How do you add this to your MetaMask? Or do you understand when you're minting on site? All of these things. How do you not get taken advantage of trying to mint and you're being on a fraudulent site and you just connected your MetaMask by, a lot of people don't know the specificity of that, so they don't mint and do all of these things. Mm-hmm. The reason I bring that up is there are tons of celebrities that are trying to mint, put out their own crypto, put out their own NFT projects, and they're falling flat and they're trying to cover it up because they're not fundamentally understanding their audience has not gotten to the point to transfer over to be ready for NFTs. If you're looking at someone like Jack Butcher, who's done visual, I always forget Jack's thing on Twitter. But if you're looking at something like that, his audience is already in the space, already have these things. So if they're going to be buying his art, it's a lot easier than asking T-Pain's audience that's on Twitch, that's mainly 18-year-olds, that barely have money to go out and go onto OpenSea to do that. You see what I'm saying? Like the same thing with Paris Hilton, all this stuff. So there's a pretty famous director that just released it. I'm not sure I can talk about it now, but I'm going to do a full deep dive in it. There's a lot of layers why it fell flat and it's not working. Hey,
Yeah,
Erica.
I know. I spoke to a person recently, one of my clients on the business side, and he had like a connect of a connect of a connect of a connect. And they were saying that Britney Spears was trying to release her own coin because of something trying to help her out with taxes. But like, so many of these people, they don't know what is mintable. I mean, you got people running around with a, disposable camera thinking they can take a picture of a picture and all of a sudden go mint it and they're going to be a millionaire. And so it's a lot of confusion around what can you NFT, what can't you NFT, who owns it, what determines royalties. I mean, it's so much. And that's why we say we should join our Discord group because there is so much to really figure out in this space. And go ahead, Doc.
No, the reality is everyone's still figuring this out. What's legal, what's not legal. Like that. That's just the bottom line. If you look at what's happening and what people are out, I've seen some people that like, okay, so Jay, I was talking to Jay the other day. Someone used his picture that he took of a celebrity and the celebrity minted it and made money. And he's like, so what recourse do I have? Okay. Nothing. The answer is nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it's so many moving parts. Say, hypothetically, you go and try to sue them. Do most courts of law understand NFTs and understand crypto right now? You see what I'm saying? Like, there are so many other things. Now, I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying people are just going to go, but it's the Wild West. It's the Wild West of what they're trying to do. Not only that, if you'll see what people are doing right now to do NFT collections, people are going on Fiverr, asking someone to make 300 variations. They pay someone to make a quick website. They launch it, and then they go from there, and with varied results of what can happen. But everyone is trying and experimenting. So going back to your question, what makes Yakuza Cats desirable? What makes it desirable is the hype in the community, in Discord, hyping it out on Twitter that people want to have this, and people are going crazy. Now we'll go, and I mean, we'll talk about Nansen if you want in a second, but like there is so many common denominators, and that's why instead I am doing a project where we're tracking Discord groups, how fast they grow as Discord groups, because it's a lot harder to fake organic conversations in Discord versus I can buy followers on Twitter. I can verify, I can pay someone $5,000, get all my platforms verified by the end of the week. That doesn't mean that you're going to have a successful launch. So there's common denominators, and then looking at things like rarity and doing research here, but it's highly speculative.
Yeah. I mean, we invest through the Investing Education Academy and like crypto. I mean, that's what we do. And we've been following just how these systems work. One of the people close to our group, they bought a piece from, I forget who it was from, but it was like a cartoon girl on a surfboard. And they purchased it on a Thursday of like a week ago for $800. And it's people contacting this individual, offering 2,000 plus.
Yeah.
And it's really, it's still fascinating. I mean, I invested in it because I'm no fool. If it's going to happen, I'd rather be there and, take a chance than not be there at all. But it truly does kind of cause you to pause and say, what is this going to be when the smoke clears and people start looking for true investments versus the hype?
Yeah. And I mean, and some are doing pump and dumps already. And that's why instead of me, I think there are some ways to crack and to get the right NFTs. And we're just talking about NFTs on like OpenSea and Ethereum. We haven't even talked about like getting NFTs on Solana, which is a whole other thing because Solana is right now harder. It's just more steps and people aren't familiar with Solana as much as Ethereum or Bitcoin, but there's all those things to consider.
But Solana has cheaper gas fees, right?
Say it again.
Solana has cheaper gas fees and faster processing time.
Oh, absolutely. Because they can go, their clock speed is 50,000 transactions per second. So I'll give you a quick example. We haven't even talked about this yet, Brent. I didn't tell you when I was trying to get Humanoid last week. I was trying to get an NFT. I was on there. They released 10,000 at the same time. There was a gas war as usual because they didn't do a Dutch market or anything. I was going to pay for it. It was going to be like $700, whatever. The gas fee was $10,000. I wasn't going to do it. I said, no, thank you. No, thank you, sir. I'm not going to do that. So there's a whole other factor in of what's happening. And why? Because it was a really big project. They released it at a specific time of day where the gas fees were insane. And by the way, there's a whole other thing to keep in mind. How many users do you think that are really on OpenSea? Do you know, Brent?
I don't know that one.
All right. So on average, and this is approximate because they won't release all numbers, but this they were talking about this last week. Approximately, big traders on OpenSea have 5 to 7 wallets apiece.
Okay.
There are only about 50,000 people using OpenSea at this time that are traders and actively on it. 50,000. That's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, I have 6 wallets myself, and I've only done two things on OpenSea so far. One of which, you walked us through. So, yeah.
It's not much. So this is when a lot of people are like, I got to get in. There's so much happening. There's a lot of hype because there's so many people. Like, it's a fire sale. Like, everyone's just like, grab the baby, get this thing. Like, everyone's trying to do all these things. And so the real thing I like to say, like, if anyone that's really interested, I really employ anyone, either be in our Discord, be in these conversations, or look at something like Build Space so you understand the layers of contracts, what it can do to change the world, because this is going to be transferable. NFTs might be here in a couple years, but the understanding of smart contracts is not going to go away in a very long time, because having the security and having artists to lawyers to whatever be able to have the power to be able to create a contract that is binding. Now, of course, humans, I never say like this isn't, it will never be broken. I just think that's hubris if anyone says that it's not going to happen. But it is highly secure in understanding the fundamentals to make good investments, or to understand what type of cryptocurrency to go into, because now different things. Like Brent was just saying, like, okay, the network's faster. What does that mean? What does these smart contracts look like on one network versus the other? What's the difference between all of these thermodynamics of what's happening with proof of work, proof of stake, Understanding the fundamentals will allow you not to be hoodwinked and be just bamboozled to buy all this hype. You can decide on calculated risk. You can decide on which one would be right for you and diversify if you understand what's going on in the market. Let's see. Erica's saying some things real quick, and welcome, of course.
Hello, Erica.
What we got right here. So a couple things I want to continue to print a series with NFTs. Again, Erica, especially because you're already an artist, and you could be pairing with different ones that maybe want NFTs or something like that. Just keep that in mind, that just because releasing your own NFTs, it's always great to do this where maybe gaining experience or doing something, but look at what's the benefit of going through all of these things.
Yeah, Erica, real quick, Erica, you want to know your why, right? And when you talk about that why, what's the goal of it? And there doesn't always have to be just a monetary goal. If it's getting experience, getting your name out there, using the fact that you have NFT artwork to maybe become more popular and build authority in your space. I mean, there are a lot of reasons why you will want to go down that path, but there's also a lot of reasons why you wouldn't. And you got to know those too. Do you know what gas fees are? Do you know how they work? When you get to a place where you developed it or got your artwork ready for NFT, and you realize there's a price tag to do it, and maybe you didn't realize that there was a cost to it. So there are a lot of moving parts. Understand your why, and then also understand your community. So that's something we're going to talk about a lot more in our Discord group. And Doc and I talk about it offline all the time about the community factor in this whole thing. So I definitely suggest that you get into the group.
Good times. Yeah. And Erica, you're always active in all these groups. So ask questions. Now, the thing is, you were mentioning a workshop and like, do we have these? Actually, so number one, I already have a video that I put out a couple months ago, how to create a wallet Actually, Brent, that's how you created it, right? When you watched
Mhm.
that video. So I'll send you the link, Erica. And of course, because you're a Build It member, you can of course gain access to that. So it's that. The other thing is later this week, I'm going to go step by step in talking about how to do this. Just my experience of like minting. And if you look at here, like the 9 things I learned, these are all the errors that took me multiple hours. So every single time something goes wrong, I just document it, and that's why I have all of these things here too. So we'll be talking about it later this week, but I would really think about exactly what Brent was saying, understanding your why, writing down where you are in the space, and then deciding what you want to do. Personally, for myself, I am more interested in understanding smart contracts because, you know, there's this analogy when like the miners, I guess when there was a gold rush in California, and there's some that go and they're trying to prospect and everything, but then there was tons of people that got rich because guess what? The increase demand of the sales of jeans went sky high because they need people, they need the proper, clothes. It was sky high selling shovels. I plan on selling every single shovel, pick, jean set, whatever it is. So I'm not out there looking for just gold. I'm out there selling. And by the way, just as a side point, if people think, well, Doc, like you're not really there, even sites like Nansen and Going Here, and you look at their pricing, I would like to point out, it's even telling that a crypto site, you can use fiat or with crypto, money's not gone right now. It's not gone right now. Okay. Even a crypto company will take fiat currency. Okay. So the implication that it's all or nothing, or this is going to be gone, just look at what's happening. Look at some of these companies. They're still taking money. They're still taking money.
And
So
Doc, I want to add on to the story you just gave. And this is one, anybody can Google this. If you really want to understand how the Rockefellers made their wealth, it wasn't just in the fact that there was oil, it was the refinement of oil. So when they looked at everybody, I think they showed up and it was I forget where it was a place they showed up to, and they realized that there was no place to set up shop. Like everybody had made their makeshift stakes to their territory. And they were like, well, if all these people are digging for oil or mining for oil, what's going to happen in the end? They're going to have to refine it in order to sell it. So they started focusing on the refinement centers. No matter who went and found oil, they had to come to a refinement centers. And there's only a few of them. I think it was like 2 at the time. And so they built their empire by like looking at what was the thing that everybody was going after. And then how do you refine it? How do you process it? So it's so like, Doc said, he's looking at the smart contracts, and, Doc and I, even being in this space together, we were here because there's so many other aspects to NFTs and smart contracts where there's money to be had and no one's paying attention to it. And so we decided to pay attention to it. And that's why we created the Discord group. That's why we're even doing this together. Just understand you really should look at the broader market and then determine what you want to do after looking at the broader market. Don't just see one thing, immediately go after it, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I didn't realize there was all these other things I could have at least explored first. Because you went about it the wrong way. Reverse engineer it, basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, excellent. Oh, by the way, Lee, thanks so much for being here. Awesome to see you. There's a couple questions I would so Lee's asking a couple of things. Number one, want to learn more about the process of minting. So what I would do is, like, I'm not getting paid by them. I'm just putting this in right here. But I would really take a look at what's going on with build space, even though it might just be, hey, I'm in no code, I'm not going to do this. This allows you to walk through, and I'll be doing it a little bit later, and we'll talk about it if you want in this program, talking about the minting process, and we'll talk about like how you go step by step with this. But Lee, I think this is really good. And yes, I saw what Builder was doing over there. I'm waiting for them to come out with their tutorials and how detailed it is, but you can be using a lot of the no code skills and the things you're doing in Bubble to be able to do this thing. There's different levels of, if you're just trying to mint and just put it up on OpenSea, or are you trying to do something like with dynamic NFTs where you're creating SVGs and then it's making different versions of it? I saw that Drew did something like that on Builder, but they haven't released like how he did it step by step. But you're going to be able to do this, how you change colors, images, all of those things in this course, and we'll talk about it if you want. The other thing that you mentioned in chat, Lee, you were saying, I'm torn between creating my own NFT art and building those, creating like you said. The thing is, if I'm getting the practice in and I'm getting the reps in, like, so what? You're not, if you create your own and they don't sell, like, what's no harm, no foul. Like, it doesn't matter. But I would also caution against, I feel like a lot of people are thinking like that's going to be your home run hit of like, I just need my NFT to pop off. Before you're even going there, you need to first gather the troops. It's about your community and your community hyping your launch versus you just dropping your NFT collection. If you're looking at any big ones that have sold out and done well, it's a strategy of FOMO. You're getting people so passionate, and then you're going from here. The other version is like, if you're looking at, I'll talk about Steph Curry's one in a second, but like Yakuza Cats, if you look at the story, like they're actually making an entire story of the different clans that you're fighting against, what that means. They're also making their own currency that you can, the Dama that you can start claiming and staking. So they're doing a pay to play. So not only are they doing an NFT, they're making an entire ecosystem and world building that they plan on either releasing as their own IP and things like that. You see the same thing that Gary's doing with VFriends and his IP. So I would say if you're just trying to get the mechanics down and understand what's going on, definitely go and just release it. You don't even have to release it on OpenSea. Pick another platform that's easier to use if you want. If it's understanding and making it pop, I would say look at ones that already have an audience. You know, we were talking about Jack Butcher. Like, there's no coincidence. Jack Butcher sold out and he's doing well because his audience is right there and they support him. They support everything he does. So, of course, his NFTs. And also his audience is more proficient. They understand and they already had, you know, a wallet. They already had all of those things. So there's factors with that. So hopefully that helps. If you want to see the minting process and like we can go through it like step by step how you mint, I have no problem talking about that. But yeah, Brent, I'll get more comments, but what are you thinking?
Yeah, Lee, I go to what Doc said, you know, the reps in. The importance of the rep, and when we did our first NFT, it was done because we just wanted to see the process. And we didn't know, and this is with the company that we call Doc. We didn't know how to do it in that company. And so, you know, we were, and actually I have it hanging on my wall. I will show you, but I took what was on my wall and I created an NFT from it, but I didn't want to put the time in to really figure it all out because I just need to see the process. So it goes back to understanding your goal. Like, why would you create your own NFT? Is it just to see the process? If so, then you should. But then when you get to that point with the gas fees and so forth, is it worth the cost to go through the entire process? Maybe that's when you look at some of these sites that allow you to kind of go through the process without incurring the cost, because you don't have to necessarily have an NFT in the end if you don't have a community ready to purchase it.
Yep, exactly.
And you know, and this is one little factoid. I'm my background is a stockbroker for anybody who's watching, and I did that for over 20 years, and I've been investing in the market for like 30 years. So about 90+% of IPOs fail in the US. Most people don't know that. They don't know that like 90% of these IPOs just crash and burn because they're just seeing the IPOs that pop, like Snow, or when I believe it was DraftKings actually came through a SPAC, but that's a whole nother thing. But they see these things pop. The ones that pop are the ones that made it to the news. There's still thousands of them that come out every year that we never hear anything about because they didn't do anything at all. They fizzled and just went away. NFT space is very similar. It's a lot of NFTs out there that will never, ever, 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 ever be purchased. No one will ever purchase them. And people have spent a lot of time and money and resources in getting an NFT minted, and now they don't know what to do with it, and nobody wants it. So just understand the ecosystem first. Spend some time with Doc and I. Spend some time in build space and just pay attention to what you're seeing. Make a determination after you have done your research and become familiar with the industry.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Just as a side point, this is Steph Curry's collection, right? So it's 10,000. It's NFTs. You collect and compete in thrilling basketball matches, right? So it's a storyline. Not only are you buying the NFTs, it's a pay to play, right? So it talks about what's going to be happening, how you claim them, what's happening in the league, all of those things. If we go to OpenSea and we just take a look at, because this is already launched, I missed it when it minted. The floor is 1.29. I've got to have 3 just to play the game. And so, okay, what is this a good project? What's going to be happening? Now, we don't even know what's going to be happening later on, what he's doing with his collection necessarily, but it could be other things that are happening in real life or what he's planning to do, what the game is. We have right here, okay, that's interesting. Sneakers airdrop, a snapshot of all Kong holders will be eligible for the sneaker drop that will be taken. Look at that. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's so many other things involved here. It depends on the project, depends on what they're trying to do, the storyline, what they're going to be doing. There's one other one.
There's one in Asia, and I forget the name, but you actually can build out the characters. You buy them hats, glasses, everything that you would to basically dress a doll, and they're building a community where you can walk around and actually buy people's clothing from them. And so it's storylines that are very real and very involved that sometimes we don't know about.
Yeah. There's another one with LaMelo. These are more dynamic, where like redeemable traits facilitate the connection between physical objects and the NFT. Winners of physical objects will have a trait added to their token. They will have the choice to redeem the physical object by signing a transaction and submitting their shipping address, or to hold onto the trait. Once the redeemable trait is used, it will disappear from the card. Owners will be able to list and sell their tokens with traits connected on the secondary market like OpenSea. I mean, there's some crazy stuff. So again, this space is so new of what's going to be happening. And again, it depends on the person's audience, what they can and cannot do. All of those things are factors, what we're seeing in this space. So just buckle up, because this is just the beginning of these celebrities having the influence. But I also think it's understanding your audience and what they need, what they want, and then seeing if that correlates. The biggest thing where I'm seeing is people are just launching and think it's going to pop, or, oh, the floor is going to be 17. The floor is going to be there. You don't know.
And when you look at things like this, we talked about capacity a little bit earlier. Do you have the capacity to stay abreast of what's happening with your own NFT?
Yeah.
Like, are you getting into this because you're like, okay, you know what? I'm officially in. I have my card, or I have my NFT and all the things that come with it, but you only track one thing, and that's the NFT. And so everything else is just lost.
Yeah.
Should you have been in the card? And should you have been in that NFT? So whatever NFT it is, check to see, number one, what comes with it. How do you have to track it? And what are the requirements for actively engaging in that community? Because most of the ones that are popping because they are part of a bigger community. And there's ancillary benefits to actually owning these NFTs that sometimes the people don't even want the NFT. They just want the access that comes with it.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so it's a lot to this marketplace, a lot.
So if you don't mind, I want to go through this just one section, because Lee was having this question about contracts. And then we'll kind of just follow up and go from there. Erica's saying, what's needed: a community manager, a hype man, a community platform, social media, storyboard artists, writers. It depends. It could be, for your writers, if you're doing the lore of what's happening. I got a couple different NFTs because I'm just in their community. That's the only reason I bought the NFTs. So you might need a writer, but again, depends on where you want to go, but I like it. Community manager, Erica, you already know how I feel about how great you do at communities. I already think you would be great at that. So there's different ways that you can be, not just creating NFTs. Are there other jobs that you can be in this space, looking at all of these things? So
Man,
Yeah,
Doc,
love it.
I'm like jealous. You have relationships with everybody who's like watching this, and so because these inside conversations, I just have to listen. Like, hi,
Yep,
Erica.
it happens. I'm sorry. I'm
It's
sorry.
cool. It's cool. It's cool. I know my
Uh,
spot.
so this one, Lee, as you're looking at this, if you're signing up for this one, even just understanding the minting your first NFT on OpenSea, this section where it's 4 different lessons, I think this is really good. Now, the first one, like what incarnation is an NFT? I like that just because it's playful. I'm gonna actually switch over because so I can move quicker through it, right? So if I'm right here, and I just do this because I'm a huge fan of Notion if people are watching this, but also I can move around quicker and I have a table of content and I can just look what's going on. So, number one, I like how they talk about what an NFT is, looking at how, if you're doing the analogy, if it's a famous person, they can sign every single one. Um, that's what you're going to be able to do with NFTs, right? If you're doing all the sketches, whatever, you're going to be able, no matter what this sketch looks like, it's official, putting that stamp, it's mine, I did that. So an NFT having that capacity, that's powerful. But now with a dynamic, like a dynamic SVG, you can now create variations of NFTs, make some rarer than others, and now you can create, just like Erica said in the chat, you can make them like Pokemon cards. You can have some that are rare, all these things. And that's what people are buying. They're buying rarity. They're buying, a piece that is going to be worth something or mean something to them. So,
And
oh
real
yeah,
quick, when you do that, what you're doing is you're moving this supply demand curve. And so, look at it from a microeconomic standpoint is once you start to make the supply less and demand stays the same or increases, the value of the underlying asset should go up. And it's just when you do that, when you control what you're minting in such a fashion, you're controlling the supply demand curve. And you should really think about that when you're producing whatever NFT it is you're looking at. Like, what is the supply demand curve related to this particular NFT? What is it going to be? And that should help you kind of understand where to go from there.
exactly. So, as you're going to decide, this one's just saying, okay, what do you want your symbol to be? This is just the brand factory symbol and all those things. After you've decided, hey, I want to either do it for myself or I'm going to work with someone else that has the audience to do it, which is fine either way. The next point is actually making sure that you're building, right? So you first have to set up your local tool to be able to do this. Now, right here, you're using a tool called Hardhat. And Hardhat allows you to be able to locally create this environment to create a smart contract. So if you're looking at Hardhat, you can go there, you can set up the environment, and you're going to be doing this in the terminal in your computer. Now, if you've never coded or it's been a little while, you might have to. This is what happened to me. The first time I tried to do this, guess what? I didn't know my Mac wasn't set up for that. So there's a whole other video I have on this channel. It's me an hour going through troubleshooting how I need to set up Brew and everything like that. Because if you go and try to do this in the terminal, but you don't have everything there yet, you're going to get a bunch of errors. So that's another thing where when you're going through this assignment, you don't know what you don't know, and they're already making assumptions that you're already coding. Don't make that assumption. If you're watching this for the first time and you're like, I want to get into this, you might have to do a couple extra steps to even run this in your terminal in your local environment. And so just keep that in mind. As you're going through this, where it's saying mkdir, like what is that saying? You're basically saying like make a directory. So if you're looking on your desktop and you can easily right click and you're like, I'm going to make a folder, I'm going to make a file. Right here, you're in the terminal telling the computer line by line what to do. So right here, you're saying install Hardhat. Right here, run the sample project in Hardhat. Install these parameters. Install the Open Zeppelin contract. So that goes back to earlier in the program where I was saying there's already contracts that are made, the frameworks. That's what Open Zeppelin is. They're already smart contracts that already give you the bones of a contract. You can import them right here. It says run script sample script.js. So I'm running the script sample so I can get started right away. And so this is just to prep your local environment, your local system to get ready for this. The next part is when you're looking at that, let me know, Lee, or anyone that's watching as you're seeing this. This is like the step-by-step of what you're going to be doing. And again, I'm just going through exactly what's in the course that I took. The only thing is I'm adding certain things because they're making a lot of assumptions that you're a dev, where I'm a very out of work and I'm a very low-level dev. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of assumptions that that are just made. That's all. So yeah, Restep could be great on this, Erica. The only thing is that's such a good point. When you're doing certain things, because when you're going to deploy and grab certain contracts, it's going to differ. You're going to see my codes that are coming out or the numbers. So it might be a little bit difficult to do. Now, I think Restep would be great with Builder. When Builder releases this and you have like a protocol how to do it in Builder, this might be, or you know what? Ask Sacco, like message him on Twitter and do it. But great point. Now, right here where it's saying mint an NFT locally, you're writing our starter contract. Now, again, remember, we're using already a sample. We're doing a bunch of stuff. So right here, it's already writing out the contract that I need. And this is just saying, hey, are we using Solidity? And Solidity is the language we're using to write to the Ethereum blockchain. So if you hear Solidity, that's the language that we're writing in to get there, right? So if people say, oh, I'm writing an Ethereum contract or a smart contract, what language are you writing it in? Solidity. It's very similar, like, hey, I'm using Python, I'm using this. Solidity is the language to get these things done. And then once you're setting everything up, you're having it in the right framework, the next part is, how can I run it? We were talking about this. Again, compile it, deploy it to our local blockchain, and then once it's there, then you'll run it. So you have to compile it first, then you got to deploy it to our local blockchain, and then you run it to go out into the world. And this is going to go step by step. And what I like about this, the first time they did this, they didn't add this, but after my complaints, and I'm sure other people said it, I wanted, once I'm adding line by line, what am I adding? They also give you in layman's terms what I'm doing in the contract. So I really like this because then you can see, like, when I'm using this line, it says this will actually compile our contract and generate the necessary files. Great. So it's going from leet speak, or ones where only a small community knows. Now they're breaking it up and talking like a human. So that's why I really like this course, where it goes line by line of what you're going to be doing. From there, you run it. You can get some errors. I got errors, and then that's why I wrote all of the things like, here's the pros and cons of the errors that I got. And after you run it, the next portion that you're going to be going to, this is actually the last one in this section to mint. You'll have everything ready in your account, and then right here, create a contract with that mint's NFT. So right here, this is the contract. Remember, we looked at it before. Import Open Zeppelin contracts. You're telling, I'm grabbing this part of the contract. This is what I'm doing. The contract NFT is, and right here, it's giving more information. You're importing it right here. The console log, this is my NFT contract. Woo! That's allowing me to know if I get to this point in the code, it's spitting out that message to me. And so this is going to get you to the point of, I know this is a longer lesson, and if you want, I'll go through it on a full breakdown video later on. But right here, now we're deploying it to the Rinky Buy, and then seeing it on OpenSea. So that allows us, again, Rinky Buy allows us to play with fake Ethereum, so we can check that our transactions work. And this goes back to our episode last week where Brent was saying, like, well, what if you mess up on the contract? Someone screwed out of money. Well, that's why if you put it to Rinky Buy network first, you can make sure everything's working correctly. The amount of ETH gets exchanged, or you see the transaction works. Then I can turn it to the Ethereum network instead. So that's what, yeah. Mm-hmm.
When it's on Rinky Buy, once you're done and you test it, does it easily transfer over to like OpenSea?
You can, but first you've got to tell the contract and go into Alchemy and tell it that you're going to now change it.
Okay.
So,
but you don't have to go redo everything you did earlier.
No, you're going to change a little things here and there, but the structure of the contract is going to stay the same.
Okay.
Yeah. You're going to deploy it. And again, I love how they say, when you deploy our contract, we need to tell all those miners, hey, this is a new contract. Please add my contract to the blockchain, and then tell everyone else about it as well. So it's breaking down the concepts of a lot of these things just seem like mystical and like, what is this? How is this real? You're just telling people, like, different nodes, you're telling different contractors, different miners, hey, like, I've got a new contract. Please tell everyone, and then that works. So Alchemy allows you to do that because you're setting up the structure to tell all the miners. Without having something like Alchemy, you would have to set up a network or a node to tell everyone, all these miners. And the reality is, ain't nobody got time for that. Just put it on Alchemy. They'll do all the work. That's the point of it. It's to tell and to build out your development and to do it in a concise way. Just do it with Alchemy. So after you do this right here is saying getting some money, this allows you to go and get fake money. Well, yeah, it is fake money. I mean, it's fake Ethereum. I mean, all this essentially is fake. But anyway, the point is you go there and you get it on the test network and you'll be over there. You can test net the ETH, you'll be good to go. And then you deploy, and then this goes into the part of the coding where you're deploying it and you're making it go to the Rinky network to go there. So you put your Alchemy API URL, your private Rinky account information, and then guess what? It deploys and you can see that it gets minted. That's what you're going to be getting. Down here, you can see, where's mine? Yeah, this is the test net, and this was my first one where I sent it to Rinky. And then this was my first test one where I just sent it, and I was making it was an anime picture from Lum. So that was my first test right here. It worked, and then I redeployed. And afterwards, that's when it was my own dynamic SVGs, because once you understand the structure, now we can plug and play and do it on another thing. So that, I know that was a lot, but the reality is, what I would say is, the only reason I know how to do this is I had to go and do it and recorded myself doing it. Like a lot of these things, even if you're watching this and you understand the fundamentals, it does not, there's few things that can substitute you going through it and you actually knowing it. Just taking notes or seeing this, you can learn this from a conceptual level. But if you want to know like how you can either consult or understand the power of this, then we go through that. Thank you, Lee. You're going to love this. Lee, like, I already see all the great things you're doing. You're going to be great at this. I can't wait what Builder is going to do with it in the future. But the reality is, like, even if no code, I implore no coders to start knowing this now, because you're still going to have constraints if you're not coding directly, because you're using people's blocks and templates to do whatever you're asking it to do. So if you understand how to move things around or what you're looking for, it allows you to understand, do I really want to mint NFTs right now? What I'm going to do is basically all this information that I learned here, now I understand how I can use different APIs, because now I'm going to be looking at Discord APIs and being able to understand what people are looking at, how people are minting, going on Etherscan, looking at what people are minting. And now, beforehand, I just bought this program per month to understand, like, analyzing Ethereum and wallets. Doing the course now, I fundamentally understand what I'm looking at now. Before, I'd be like, okay, let me click this button right here. There's NFT Paradise. Let me just look at what everyone else is doing right here. Let me just discover what's happening on the market. But I didn't understand the contracts. I didn't understand looking at people's wallet. I didn't know that until the course. So just understanding the fundamentals, then it allows you to transfer what you're trying to do and make money wherever you want or however you want later on. So that's just something to keep in mind. And of course, later this week, if people want, I'll do a full breakdown and I'll do a step-by-step video of like how I did it, and you can have access to my notes and all of those things. But this is just a taste of, that's just section one. Number one of minting your Epic NFT. There's learn how to generate NFTs on chain, setting up your web client. So that's like your web app. And then finally finalizing and shipping it. So if people are interested, let me know. I'll do more videos coming up in the next couple of days. But yeah, that's where we're at.
Yep, I think this was a good one. I mean, I hope everybody, checks back in next Tuesday with us as well, and come with questions. This is kind of an open conversation. We're following a pattern, but truthfully, it's me and Doc just talking and talking about this NFT space because there's a lot of opportunity. I mean, for developers, for people who can consult, for people who are investing, there's a lot of opportunity here. And I always liken it to, if you were, there in the early 1900s and the stock market was just kind of being conceived, and somebody said, "Hey, would you like to learn about the stock market?" And you said, "No." It is like the number one wealth generator in the United States.
Yeah.
Is the stock market. I mean, and honestly, if you look through, and I'm not trying to go too far back, but Portuguese history and some other things, if you want to know more, talk to me. We can talk about it because I'm a geek about it. But the stock market actually started in coffee shops. And so you imagine, like, again, being there in the 1700s when they start talking about these coffee shops actually having their own exchanges. And somebody said, "Would you like to get into the business of coffee?" And you were like, "No." It's multi-trillion-dollar industry since then. And so, pay close attention to this because it's not going away.
Yeah, good time. So again, there's links down below. I've put it in a couple times for the Discord, all of those things. Make sure that you're looking at this. Erica has a question. Is this more, are you here every Tuesday? Yeah. So Tuesday is going to be on this channel for everything with NFTs and everything. Yeah. With smart contracts, NFTs, we do this. It's either going to be at 11:30 or 12:30, but we're mainly going to do 11:30. But again, we're here on Tuesday mornings. The other one is too, you're going to have Discord, and also weekly on this channel, I'll be releasing tutorials and what I'm building in crypto right now, cryptos, NFTs, smart contracts. You'll see all those tutorials on this channel as well for YouTube. And Erica has one more question for you, Brent. You're saying the stock market even more so than real estate?
Yes.
You're into real estate too? Talk
Absolutely.
about it a little bit, or explain more like you were saying.
On average, real estate returns 6 to 7% per year. The stock market does 10 to about 12. And again, you got to think of all the people that do it. So real estate, when you're a flipper, is very different than people who own real estate as an appreciating asset. So when you're looking at flippers, of course, the numbers would be skewed, similar to looking at a person who was getting into a private equity position versus the long stock position. So I don't want to go too deep, but long story short, I just want to separate flippers or people who are in real estate for a quick pop. Because if I say that number 6 or 7, anybody who's flipping real estate is gonna be like, "Oh no, nothing about that's right. It is absolutely wrong." In which case it would be. So you have to aggregate the real estate market, and that growth is between 6 and 7% annually. And the stock market is between like 9 and 12 roughly.
Good times. And this is why Brent knows all of these things, and this is why he's here. And he's giving perspective, and this is really good. Lee just joined the Discord. Thank you so much for joining the Discord. We'd love to see you. And again, we're going to be adding more things based on what people are interested in. Next week, we're going to be talking more about tools and looking at what's different projects for NFTs, what's going to be dropping, how to look at different things. Hopefully by next week, I'll also have an update on how I'm going to be tracking NFTs, not just other websites, but custom tools, all of those things. So again, everybody, thanks so much for hanging out with us on Tuesday. Again, this is going to be weekly. The show's here with NFTs, smart contracts. It's here on Tuesdays. On Wednesdays, you'll still see me live on the other channel. Remember, tomorrow is going to be with Chris Shelzy from AppSumo. We're going to be talking about how you can start getting paid to launch your first product on AppSumo, the listings and everything. That's going to be at like 12:30. There's going to be an email that goes out if you're on the newsletter. It will also be mentioned in the community and all those things. And if you like this, make sure that you like and subscribe and send this channel to other people if you find that this is beneficial and you want to have another outlet. We'll be there and help you out, of course. So again, thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see all of you next week.